Well, first of all, I can confirm the other aspects that Petra mentioned. The challenges in the planning is exactly that you have multi-stakeholders in the micro watershed, and only I think in a participatory process you can make sure that all the people in the micro watershed, with the landless, the women, the pastoralists and the settled farmers are all included and sit around and come to the same agreements.
Maybe you could also answer the question to the local administrations, because this was also a part of the question. How are they included in the approaches?
Yes, I think this maybe, I don't know how Ethiopian specific that is. I think they're very much included from the beginning, because every work that is happening in the community is guided and participated with the local authorities. So even the legalization of the groups and all these things are happening through the local government. Even when we enter the micro watershed, we enter actually through the local authorities into the work. With regard to the climate smart activities, the selection, it's should be as much as possible participatory, but of course sometimes the people are not yet aware what it means, climate smartness, and what is the adaptation potential or the mitigation potential of various measures. So we try to also introduce different practices, as I mentioned, for composting, mulching, not only by selecting different crops or varieties. So it's also more not what you do, but more how you do it to make it climate smart.
Okay, and there's one question.
But maybe one more addition. Another aspect of climate smartness is also crop rotation, and a mixture of intercropping as well as crop rotation.
Okay, Petra?
Yeah. I think there are two questions which have not been answered. There was one, what do you do if there's a real drought?
Drought, yeah.
Actually, I mean, I think you can't do much, you know. I think what you do is actually to buffer these kind of stress situations. But if they occur and they are really serious, I think there's not really much more you can do with these measures. I think you're trying to prevent, you're trying to prepare, but that's I think what you can do. Then there was one other one, looking at maintenance and costs after the implementation. I think both approaches, try to look at local material, building up local capacity to maintain these structures, and except now these bigger construction, in my case the water spreading weirs, maintenance should be done, and we think can be done by the communities if they are organized and if maintenance is organized. So costs should be minimal. If there are major breakages, of course one would have to look into that, but the normal maintenance should be able to be done by the community.
Okay, thank you. I think we answered now all these questions of this side of the participant. May we come to this side still? There's the micro. Okay.
Oh. Thank you. I'm John Coonrod with the Hunger Project. I'm just curious about in the case of Ethiopia, Gorg, how many folks are involved in it now? And have you seen sort of uptake across other organizations or networks in Ethiopia?
Okay, we continue with the next. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm Alok Sikka, Deputy Director General, Natural Resource Management, Indian Council of Agriculture Research, and also Technical Advisor, Watershed Management, National Rainfed Area Authority, Planning Commission, Government of India. As you know that most of these programs, as long as we are involved into that, and once we withdraw from the scene, the things are different. So what is your exit policy? Because that's what is going to define and address in the future to come the resilience which you are trying to build through these NRM activities and its linkage with production and the livelihood support system. So what is that particular thing? Because once you are trying to frame it as a conceptual framework for climate smart or the climate resilient agriculture. So, and secondly, how you feel that you are going to have a large scaling out of this kind of an activity to have a larger impact. Thank you very much.
Okay, you just could give the micro to the, yeah, okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. My name is Vole Carucci and working for the World Food Programme, and very pleased to have heard this presentation from both Nigeria and Ethiopia, having worked a lot in this country under the MERET program and working with GIZ in a number of watersheds. So very, very well received presentation. One thing that emerged, because the theme is building resilience for food and nutrition security, which is never enough emphasized. And I think you touched both for the territorial units, les unités territoriales élémentaires, that really was a landscape notion adapted to the context of Niger, and the landscape watershed approach in Ethiopia, the incredible relevance of that nexus, that part of the technical, geographical entity that matches also the social and economic watersheds, that is never really coming up prominently in many of these discussions. It remains very much to those who are part of this club of people who understand those nuances and have been working in this environment. The technical people shy away from engaging, portraying this at the higher level. So question is, what is the organization doing to elevate the relevance of the landscape territorial units approach vis-a-vis the resilience agenda and for food and nutrition security, considering that that's probably one of the big elephants in the room. People, and a friend of mine say, we look very much at the sky, we don't look at the ground. The land degradation aspect here is enormously important. Question is on the success of a number of efforts in Ethiopia was also linked to the participatory approach that was introduced, thanks to the leadership of the Minister of Agriculture that coalesced GIZ, WFP, ILRI, USAID, a number of stakeholders to develop the community-based participatory watershed development approach, translated into 3 major languages of this country. So we need to provide that perspective as lessons learned on how we coalesce. This morning we heard about the safety net. That was an effort that complemented safety net and beyond. So just a little bit of perspective, if I may be allowed.
Okay.
One question is on empowerment of women, the reduction of hardships. Anything that you have measured along these lines?
Okay, thank you very much. So please, answers to these questions.
Yeah, the first question with regard how many people are involved. Well, the SLM program in Ethiopia is a multi-donor funded program. So we are, I think, in total working at the moment in 90 plus Woredas. Not always covering the complete Woreda, but I don't know exactly how many watersheds involved. And there will be another 90 Woredas coming in from next year. Yeah. The question with regard to exit policy, I think we have an exit strategy, but it is still a bit under testing phase, I must say. That means the question, how long should we stay in one micro watershed before we move on to another one or withdraw our support? Of course, the aim is to make it sustainable and viable in the long run. I think it depends. We are not sure yet whether as a blueprint saying 3 years in one place is enough, or I think there are some watersheds where you could go out maybe in 3 to 5 years, and other watersheds where you might need a longer time even. And I think important is that you can reach the level that the people are making a good living out of the soil and water conservation plus the income generating activities, and then I think you can leave them on their own.
Maybe we split to save a bit of time. Of course, I would fully support what you are saying. I mean, what we are talking when we look at the landscape approach is much more than technologies, it's much more than organization of communities, it's much more than, let's say, bylaws on local or regional level. I think it's the combination of all this. And of course, we were challenged to try to present 2 cases in a very short time, so you cannot go into detail. But I think just by presenting this complex approach and highlighting that it's not about one issue alone, but it's rather an integrated approach, I think that is core.
Okay, I
gender,
think
gender, just one last word on gender. Gender has not explicitly mentioned, but of course, all the communities, they have to consist of men and women, the communities, they are part of it. Without that, it doesn't work. Unfortunately, I don't have any figures to show what is the specific impact to them, but they have been part and parcel of the process.